Okay, so here I got another story for you guys, and this one is on Legends of the Five Rings. And we did a campaign with Legend of the Five Rings, and everybody played a different samurai group. Um, I made a Iajitsu duelist, Crane, from the Crane clan. Go Doji Satsumi. And I have to say, out of all the games I've ever played, L5R is probably the hands down one of the most boring games I've ever played. And now this is my own personal experience, and I know that I'm going to have so many people that are going to disagree with me on this. But L5R is so ridiculously culturally limited, in my personal opinion, that it just does not support the ability to be played. So now I do think that there's a place for stuff like that, and I'll give an example for that later on. But everything that you do is so meaningful. Everything you do has to be done in a certain succession, and it just was so boring for me. I could not get into that game, and I really tried, because I thought the Crane were really cool, and I thought being a samurai duelist was really cool. But you know, every different clan had like something that they were special at, but the difference between being a samurai from the Crab clan and being a samurai from the Crane clan is, you know, oh, well, you have some, you know, you're kind of a mutation, and you're better with armor and taking hits, and being a Jitsu duelist allows you to sub out your Iajitsu ability for your Kinjitsu ability, which allows you to use your dueling ability for fighting as opposed to your normal fighting ability. So, to me, with a mild variation in clan and a little bit of variation as far as like politics go, you, except for those who played like a caster, you were all pretty much the same damn character. And that to me, except for the ninjas, which the ninjas didn't really exist. There was no such thing as ninjas. Ninjas were they were fake. So not only, you know, could you, you know, like, oh, we're playing these Oriental adventures and everything, and we can make you can play samurai, or you can play like this mystical caster, or you could play like a ninja. But no, you couldn't play ninja because ninjas weren't really real. They people dress up like ninjas, and they would throw these shurikens that don't really do any damage, and they weren't very accurate, or they could do like these other things or whatever. But overall, ninjas were fake. So not only did the game really suffer from having different choices in classes, but I mean, granted, they had like different classes. You know, they had like the phoenix, the crane, the crab, the lion, I want to say, and I want to say there was another one. They had all these, and they all had their little things that gave them benefit and everything. But for the most part, if you were an outsider looking in, you would not be able to really tell the difference between them. I mean, except for everybody from a different clan had kind of a different philosophy. However, that philosophy wasn't, different enough to change their kind of cultural outlook. So everybody, when, like that had to go through the whole tea thing and had to do the sincerity, and they were really big on that whole Asian sincerity thing, where you would have to, refuse stuff, and you would have to be overly polite, and the way that you held your weapon would indicate this, and the way that uh, everything you did had, like, all this meaning and stuff, and you would be basically role playing by action instead of saying something. But playing the game was, in my opinion, boring as shit. You would have like 15 actions of shit that you would do before ever swinging your sword. Focus, 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 focus. It's just, that game had, and then this is, like I said, this is my personal opinion. I still see people that play L5R to this day. I was surprised I was surprised the game didn't go out of business, because it was just that boring for me. Now, I think that L5R would have been great if it went into the D20 system and went into like Oriental Adventures. Like if you hi, we're going to this side, and they have a bunch of samurais here, and the different samurais have these different classes, and you can actually play a samurai in addition to normal D&D characters. And then you would make the variations and everything to make it so it would work inside the D20 system. But, you would have all those clans, and you would have that background and give you this great campaign setting and everything. So in case if you went over there and you had to deal with that. But I never, looking at it, even from the get-go, and granted, they had some really cool philosophical stuff about it that that drew you into the plot. So you could really empathize with the what they were trying to sell. I mean, whoever made the game put their heart into it, and I'll never dock whoever created the game, for a lack of trying, because I believe that they definitely tried. But I think going from something like D&D, where I can play rogue this time, and I can play wizard this time, and I can play cleric this time, and then I can make 50,000 alterations to them so that my cleric is completely different from any cleric that I've ever fought, used before. I'm playing an elven cleric that uses a longsword or uses a bow. Or I make magical arrows that are stunted at the end, that when they hit the person, they cast Cure Light Wounds. You know what I mean? There's so many crazy, weird stuff you can do with just Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, Pathfinder. Dear God, Pathfinder has how many classes that you can pick? How many races that you can pick? And they're all massively different. So you can play, you can play what you want to play. I felt samurais should have been a class, not a game. And their one chance of actually bringing in another legitimate class, the ninja, they did away with. They came straight out like, you don't know that ninjas don't exist, but if you read the book, ninjas don't exist. Are you kidding me? Your one legitimate chance to make a third class for the game, to give the game some diversity, you threw it out the window? And now this was the L5R that I played, and I want to say it was the first edition. I never played any L5R after that. Obviously, you can see by this rant why I never played any of the other L5Rs to follow. And I believe, obviously, they made more. But the game just lacked a heart. It even the role playing, it forced people into such a funneled them into this cultural thing, and I'm not saying that it isn't a cool culture. I'm not saying that it doesn't have like these neat little aspects to it. Um, but what I am saying is that it forced so many characters to do the same thing and pretty much look almost exactly alike that I would be amazed to find people that say, yeah, man, we just spent the last 10 years playing L5R. Every time my character dies, I make a new character. He's from a different class, and I feel like it's completely different. You tell me that crap, uh, the, the next thing that's coming out of my mouth is, what did I say that was wrong, and how the hell did you find that out? Because, when I read the books, and at least the edition that I played and everything, it looked like they were about as diverse as a box of rocks. You know what I mean? Finely polished, exact rocks and everything. I mean they're all rocks, but I just I don't know. I couldn't bring myself to really get into the game. I mean I tried, and the combat system, and it looks cool. I mean it is really cool, but it's it's like D&D would still be cool if the only two classes was a fighter and a wizard, and everything was completely Dark Sun. It would still be really cool, but it would be extremely limited to what you could do. And then saying, hey, we have thieves in this game, but they're not real thieves and everything. They don't really exist. It's just an illusion that they exist, but they're actually fighters. And they just dress up like thieves, and you can't actually play a thief. If that's what I feel about it. It's like you're so trapped into what the game is that you have no options. I mean, you do have options, but they're very little and minuscule. And and I know that there's going to be people out there that had different experiences than this. And I know there's some people that really love that Oriental genre. And I know that there's going to be people that they don't mind that the rest of the character classes look similar, and they believe that the diversity that lies within the different clans and everything is enough to actually create a massive diversity between the characters. I don't. I believe that the game is you know there everybody pretty much looks the same. I think that a samurai in itself and what the samurai can do is awesome. I think that having another samurai standing right next to him that's slightly different is still pretty much the same samurai. You know, um, and that's how I feel about it. I mean, there wasn't a crap load of weapons that you could run around with. You know, you could be a clanless samurai. Ooh, like you could be a Ronin, or you can be a samurai from a clan. You could, maybe use uh, was it a couple different, Orient weapons, maybe a Nogadachi or whatever, um, or something like that. I mean, there was some diversity within the game, but compared to pretty much every other game that I've ever played, except for games that have been intentionally simplified and everything, just so you can wrap it up in 10 pages and be able to play real easily. Any real legitimate role-playing game, I had to say that it definitely fell short of being able to create an element to the game that allowed the game to be played over and over and over again. The game comes off more as a campaign, and that can only be played maybe once or twice, and it just, to me, it didn't have that element to be replayed. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to disagree with me on this, and by all means disagree. This is just my personal experience. This is just how the game came across to me, and I'm not familiar with the new editions that came out. If they fix that, um, you know. I'm one of those people. If I buy the first edition and the first edition, gives me this feeling, I'm not going to buy the next edition unless someone comes out of the woodwork and says, "Yeah, the first edition absolutely sucked, and the second and third were amazingly, more advanced, and and this and that and this and that. And I think that honestly, based off of what you're saying, and playing the second and third edition is going to be completely different. Um, if I heard something like that, then maybe. But as it sits now, L5R just struck me as not worth ever trying again, except for maybe using those elements and creating an area that had like using, because I think that it's great if you create an area that has different samurais from different clans, and those clans and everything have, because you have all that resource material, so you can actually create an area where they might have to go on an Oriental adventure, and so they're right there with samurais. I mean, obviously you'd have to find a way to create samurai class, or use maybe second edition or some other thing to have an actual samurai class, so they're having to actually deal with samurais. But so you'd have to do some, work as far as putting it down on paper. But the the genre would be great to bring characters into. I can't see it as being a self-sustained game that can be ran over and over, supporting several campaigns the way that it is. I can't see that. But that's me. Obviously, many of you are going to disagree with me, and hey, that's a great thing. Everybody is welcome to their own opinion. All right, guys, peace.